Welcome to the Drone Champions League, the World Championship for professional drone racing teams. I'm Matt Andrews and you're joining us here in Split 1 of our Drone Grand Prix for 2023. Race day 13 upon us. Once we've cleared 18 race days, we'll know who our top 6 teams are, and those are the ones who'll be going to our live finals for Split 1. The teams in 5th and 6th will start in our elimination zone, the other 4 teams into the slightly safer main round. Lose a match from there, you go into the elimination zone. Lose a match from the elimination zone, you are out of the tournament. Eventually, we'll have a team as the Split champion. We'll do it all again in Split 2 later this year. We have 2 teams of 4 pilots facing each other. We start off with 1 pilot versus 1, then a pair of 2v2s. The big heat will see everybody fly, and if a team hasn't swept the other one aside 4-0, we'll continue with more 2v2s and a 1v1 to settle it if our best of 7 needs to get that far. We're 2/3 of the way through our season. Let's remind ourselves who's giving us all the entertainment this year, starting with the 2-time world champions. Sarah, Matteo, Costa, Longcat, Vincent Mayan, Silent, IQ0 and Yuki. They are the proud black and yellow 2-time world champions from Japan. They are Raiden Racing. Here's the team who for 6 years were unstoppable world champions until Raiden took that title from them. Xblades racing team out of the UK with Raspberry, Violin FPV, Yayu, Star 23467, Minjay, Drobot, Shane and Sally 1. They are on a charge this year, looking to get their title back. The American team of Quad Force 1 have never won the World Championship, but they were runners-up back in 2018 when they started in the DCL. This season, they're flying with Screecher, Proximo, Leviathan, Propsicle as their captain, Birkin, Heads Up, AK Drones, and QT FPV. They are at the top of the leaderboard right now. China Dragons are having their best ever season in the DCL, and their 8 pilots represent Turkey, Indonesia, India, Germany, China, UK and the USA. They are Kenrick FPV, Duona FPV, who's just 10 years old, Iron FPV, Clone Number 1, Creator Gamer, Chryson, G-Man and Doruk. STT Perpetuum Coin are our Spain drone team friends. Used to be a wildcard team many seasons ago when we were racing real life in places such as Madrid, and now are a permanent team in the DCL. They're racing this season with Squid FPV, HYG, Danube, Silvio, Blessed, Sea Sky FPV, Shrimpy Boy, and out of Israel, Nate YT. Now we meet the teams new in 2023. Alpha Prop Racing came through the Amateur League, a team who've been making themselves known for a while now. They brought in Rue, who used to fly with Quad Force 1, Gabri Prince, Lazy Day, Braverick, Micro, Keepy FPV, and Vinagres FPV. And we're enjoying their rivalry with this team, Cyclone Racing, who they've known for a very long time. This team are racing with Bambi, Sociopath, the Ice Cheetah, Astronaut, J-Box, Zion, Paco and Baraktal. And out of our 5 new teams, Cyclone Racing are the only one who are currently in our top 6. And remember, that's a spot in the live finals. Haven Airborne out of Norway, racing this season with Fireduck, Snow Yeti, Chugakva, Puree, Nido, Schmeland, Holdox FPV, who has returned to the DCL after his brilliant races previously with the Apex Racing team, and Spook completes the lineup for the Haven team, racing out of the Haven Esports Centre. Women have always been a part of the DCL since we started racing with teams back in 2017. This year, in order to give female pilots more exposure, Mach 1 formed themselves with Natahova, Steph FPV, Mako Reactra, Mayon High, Trilly FPV, Moga FPV, Hologram, and Labeba. And finally, meet the DCL Wildcard team. We've had a history of giving wildcard pilots a chance to show what they can do to the professional teams. This year, our lineup are Mr. Bogey, Super Spiro, Zoom, Vizzy, Saint Duck, Flocelli, Dragony, and Rocker Guy. Pilots making a good impact in their first season. After our 12 race days so far, Quad Force 1 have a tiny lead over Xblades Racing, and then just a little bit behind them are the China Dragons, and they're going to be battling each other today. So each of the teams picks 4 pilots from their roster of 8. Xblades have come to this battle with Star, Yayu, Minjay and Drobot, who had an incredible performance together last week when they beat out Raiden. Their opponents, the China Dragons, have come in with a roster we've seen a few times this season: Kryson, Clone Number 1, Creator Gamer and Kenrick FPV. So now that we've revisited all of our pilots, let's remind ourselves how to fly around Proptown, USA, our fictional location out in the city. After you've weaved your way around here, you're going to come under the building. Now last week we had a triple corkscrew in Stavanger and that caused a few problems. This is 2, 3, count them, 4, and then a hard left-hand turn into a slalom, an extremely tight one. And you go under the bridge here, round a bit more of a slalom before barrel rolling over the top of it like so, and then heading into this alleyway. After that, into our park in Proptown, a big right-hand turn here through the fountain, then a hard turn into our sculpture here before the climb. Now everybody in this part is going to be able to see how near they are to the quad in front. You turn to the right and dive down through that hole, which you don't get a good look at until you get high enough. And now you have to pick your rooftop. It's around this cone here, and that'll be the end of the first lap. You'll head to the finish gate if it's the end of the last one. Xblades against China Dragons. Let's go racing. Star 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 and Clone Number 1 to start things off. Now what you're looking at here in the first 1v1 of the day are 2 pilots who've made a real statement on their teams this year. Clone Number 1 saw him in a few appearances in previous seasons, but he's flying fantastically well, the best I've seen him for China Dragons this season. And Star 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 has come over from China Dragons, used to be their team captain, turned into a pilot for Xblades, a team that is notoriously hard to get on their starting 4, and here he is flying fantastically well and starting this series for them. So they got confidence in him, as they should. He's half a second above Clone Number 1 at the moment. Clone Number 1 a bit high and a little bit hesitant finding his way back on the dive out of the building. That's held him up a little bit. He's lost another 10th or 2. Now we'll go around his cone through here and then head back on lap number 2. And Clone Number 1 still a little bit twitchy there. A few parts of the track where he's not quite so clean, but that's lovely corkscrewing from both of them. Hard slaloming too. Aggressive work from Clone Number 1, and he's closed the gap by a tiny bit. Corkscrew over the top is good for both of the pilots there, and they'll come back towards the park with still just over half a second between them. Through the fountain, hard right, into the sculpture, and then climb. Clone Number 1 on lap number 2. We'll see he is almost 4/10 of a second behind Star 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. The weave around the building is lovely for both of them. Clone Number 1 going for a bit of a pre-turn there. That's not bad. Not, however, as quick as Star 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 on his route into lap number 3. Now here comes the corkscrews. You've really got to tighten things up here if you want to make any difference. Left-hand slalom into this pot. Clone Number 1 going aggressively. He's closer now to Star than he had been before. It's less than 2/10 of a second. And it's a good turn into the alleyway there. He's not hanging around. Now heading up to the park through the sculpture. It's good from both pilots, and the climb is good. 0.13 of a second. Clone Number 1 trying to catch Star. He's got to make the dive work here, and he does. Around the poles is good. Star is also good. It's less than a tenth of a second between them. The final turn. It's
No.
Star.
Oh, GG.
Oh!
Nice, GG.
Let's go, Star!
Way to make it exciting in lap 3.
If you joined us last week, you'll remember Xblades were racing then against the reigning world champions Raiden and how excited the team were with their performance. Star giving them something to get very excited about in the first race of today. Here you see clone number 1 just slipping his drone inside on the corners. And now chasing Star. Barrel roll is good for both of them. There's Star's corkscrewing, and clone number 1 was trying to hang on to him at this stage on lap number 1. Good work from both of them. Star was a little bit smoother throughout, you would think. Clone number 1 half a second behind at this stage on lap number 1, but so close as they got closer to the end. Now just keep an eye on Star's drone after he makes this turn. Look at the invert there. That's how you go down quickly. You invert your drone and pull yourself down to the ground rather than let it descend through gravity. Clone number 1 into the building here on lap number 2, and then just a little bit hesitant into the first part of the corkscrew, and he's very close to the back of all of those squares. Didn't trip him up, but he came very close to hitting a few of them. Through the fountain, that's coming up. He'll go through the first arch, but miss the second one. Seen a few pilots do that in the past on this particular layout of a track, as they think it gives them a better run into the sculpture following it. Let's see if he did it again on lap number 3. Yes, he did. And then the climb out of there was very strong, but this is when clone number 1 was getting a little bit closer to him. Star comes back for the first of the 2v2s, along with Yayu, and it's Kenrick and Kryson who they're racing against for China Dragons. We've seen this quite a lot this season now, that one of the pilots stays on from the 1v1 into the 2v2, whereas the other side have decided to swap out their 1v1 pilot. They have to make these decisions before the racing begins. They can't choose it based on the performance just now. Star can't say, oh, I really enjoyed that 1v1, let me go again. It's already been predetermined by the teams. So he's warmed up, as you would expect, but Kryson is still in front of him. Halfway through lap number 1 now. Yayu in third, Kenny just a little bit behind. Kenrick FPV, he's down in 4th at the moment. There's the route up for everybody. Star currently in the lead. Yayu's view here of Kryson as they're weaving their way down. Kryson getting caught out there. Don't think he hit anything, but it's held him up a little bit, and Yayu has slipped past him into second and dives aggressively downwards. And Kryson is still with him, though. He's not managed to get too far in front of him. Whatever happened to Kryson on that turn just delayed him a little bit. Let's go back on board with the China Dragons pilot as he's corkscrewing aggressively. Oh, Kryson! That will send him some way behind, and it leaves it up to Kenrick FPV for China Dragons to try and gain on the two pilots of Xblades. But there's over a second between them, and that gap is getting bigger, not smaller. Kenny's view here is he's aggressively trying to catch them through the park, and he's hit the sculpture. Oh, China Dragons might just want to write this one off now. 3-4 seconds for their two pilots. Yayu is very close to Star. Let's keep an eye on these two Xblades pilots and see how they fight each other at the top. Here's the inverted dive. Yes, they're not hanging around, not taking anything safely either, despite the massive lead they've got over China Dragons right now. And we've got a real fight on here between Star 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 and Yayu for the point for Xblades. You used to get 4 points coming in first and 3 points coming in second, but no, it's just 1 point for the win here, and they are not hanging around. These two pilots desperately want to outfly each other, and they're giving us the best of each other in doing so. Yes, look at that. Brilliant flying around the sculpture.
Yeah, you got 10 seconds on him.
Yeah, that's Drobot Racer, their teammate, giving them an idea how far ahead they are. He's been a little bit generous with that, but it doesn't matter. They're not going to get caught on this final turn.
Ah, GG.
Good job, boys.
GG. Nice. Let's go, Yayu.
Looks like we have a very confident Xblades Racing with us today. 2 wins for Star, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 out of 2 heats. Look at that start from him. Not hanging around, but everybody with him. 0.2 of a second between all 4 pilots. They all know how to dive. Kryson here on the corkscrews was looking very aggressive in them and got caught out there. Later on the first lap, in the lead, just ahead of Star and Yayu, but they just start to catch him as we reach the park. And here you'll see on the climb, different routes. Look, Star going very far over to the right-hand side. On lap number 2, Kenny goes straight through the fountain, and that just sends him a little bit too wide when he tries to get through the sculpture, and he hits it a second and third time before he gets up out of there. Star 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 goes into this section on lap number 3, 0.3 of a second ahead of his teammate Yayu. But his corkscrewing is tidy, but perhaps not as aggressively quick as it can be, because Yayu has caught him by 0.3 of a second by the time it's over. And then to climb up out of here, Yayu still with him, but not close enough to beat him to the point on the finish. Now it's the other 2v2, so Minjay returns, Drobot Racer starts for the team, clone number 1 has Creator Gamer alongside him. So the other pilots that were picked by these teams to race each other today. Creator Gamer had a mixed season, been overshadowed by clone number 1, so he's very much running with him here. Minjay and Drobot, well, those are two pilots with enormous amounts of experience in the DCL at winning races and titles. Minjay currently leading the way through the fountain, everybody through the centre there, not upsetting anybody's route around the sculpture. Drobot, a bit more direct on the left-hand side, along with Minjay, unlike Star, who went a bit more rightwards when we saw it earlier. Creator at the top of the building. Oh, he's recovered it, but it totally broke his rhythm for a while, and he's lost 2 and a bit seconds there. So clone number 1, James Govey for China Dragons, has got to get in front of the two pilots from Xblades, while Creator Gamer tries to fight his way back into here. He's into the corkscrew as everybody else is exiting it now. Minjay still ahead of Drobot. Clone number 1 trying to hang on to them, but he's lost a few tenths of a second there. Over the top we go. Drobot chasing his teammate Minjay. Clone number 1 trying to gain on both of Xblades. Needs to keep his route to get ahead. Xblades go round. Clone number 1 goes through, but he nearly turned left and followed them. I don't know if that's what broke his rhythm, but he's hit the sculpture and given up some more time to the light blues. Just that route through the centre of the park. Both Minjay and Drobot went through the first part of the fountain and then went left. And for a moment, it looked like clone number 1 was going to follow them left, but then chose his route. And perhaps that just upset things. Into the corkscrews we go. Drobot a little bit deep on the first one. So Minjay just pulling a little bit away from him. Almost half a second between these two teammates. Slalom flying aggressively. Fantastic work from both of them. Minjay over the top. Beautifully rolled. Drobot 0.6 of a second behind him. Now watch the route through the fountain. Minjay through the first of the rings and then wide of the second, and that sets him up for these rolls, and that's worked out nicely. Drobot on his climb too, seeing him go very far to the left and then cut back through the building. Not much race left now. 4.4 seconds behind his Creator Gamer. Drobot hits the last turn.
GG.
Minjay got the win anyway.
Nice.
Come on, point by point.
Creator Gamer urges China Dragons point by point. Let's pull this thing back. Minjay has given Xblades a 3-0 lead. Creator's route straight down the middle there. Into the sculpture. Just got it a little bit too soon on his first lap here, and then later on the same lap. Just caught the wall there on his way out and looked like it was tumbling to its doom. Recovered it. Flew this much more nicely on lap number 2. That'll work. His teammate, clone number 1, aggressively coming into the park. He hits the sculpture in basically the same place as Creator did. Just a little bit too hasty on trying to get into the climb. After the climb, gets caught out here, which is an unusual place before you weave your way under the building back to the difficult corkscrews. A little bit hesitant between 2 and 3, and a bit of a bump on the way out of 4. And then through the difficult slalom, but heading under the bridge, gets caught out again. Creator was trying to fight his way back into this race in the last stages of it. He's going to have another go at the 4 corkscrews. There's 3, and there's 4. He's gaining on clone number 1. But this is a long way behind the 2 pilots for Xblades. Minjay looked like he was going to come out too low, but he's got it completely in hand. Brilliant clean flying from him. That's how you do a fountain and a sculpture, and that's how you get your team 3 points in the lead. So it's DCL big heat time. All 8 pilots will race. China Dragons have got to win this one. Otherwise it's going to be a 4-0 sweep for Xblades Racing, and everybody heads into the building. Clone number 1 into a pillar. That'll upset his rhythm early in the race. Kenny's still behind him. Xblades are all at the front with Chryson amongst them. Creator trying to stay with them too. Remember what he said, point by point. That's how they're going to get back into this series. Yayu, Star, and this guy Minjay are not hanging around. Minjay's hit a lamppost. They were racing full tilt there like they were against each other. Kryson is very much in the fight between the Xblades pilots. Star and Yayu on their way up, and now the dive through, and Kryson can see Yayu. Where's Star? He's dropped a few places behind, overshot that turn it seems, and that's cost him a lot of time. Kryson's now chasing Yayu for the lead, and Drobot's up in a third, and Creator is not out of this either, down in fourth. We're not even halfway through this race. 6 quads all corkscrewing at the same time. It's just Minjae and Kenny who are a little bit too far behind to be featuring at the moment. Kryson's giving this chase everything he's got. Barrel roll over the top. Early turn between the lamppost and the pylon, cutting the corner as tight as you like. Kryson fearless chasing of Yayu. So close to the sculpture. No, Kryson too close. Oh, he was cutting everything as fine as he could. And he's dropped back down to 4th place. Yayu has Drobot closest to him. Creator Gamer, now the lead pilot for China Dragons. And then clone number 1. Oh, he had a really good chance at taking Yayu. Just pushed it a little bit too far. Now there's 4, 5 drones eventually making their way into the corkscrews. Everybody spread out a little bit more than they were at this time last lap. Yayu leading Drobot, and those 2 pilots are looking like this could be a 4-0 sweep for Xblades. Creator 7/10 behind at this very late stage. Oh, Drobot into the sculpture. Everybody's trying to take a piece of it except Yayu, who is having a clean run and is out of the top of the building and will head for the dive and for the win of this series. It's Xblades.
Let's go!
Good job, Swan.
Nice one.
Finally, I'm great on a track.
Nice one, Yayu.
It's nice to see Yayu enjoying himself so much. He says, finally, he's great on a track. He's an amazing pilot. Rookie of the year last year. He's had a few bumps this season so far, as has Kenny, just descending off the start there. He's recovered it by this stage and chases off into the race. Clone number 1, always pushing hard for China Dragons. A little too hard there. Caught out on the corner, and this is before we even get to these corkscrews. There's 3 and 4. Minjae with drones all around him. Thankfully, his teammates are the ones ahead of him. Here's where we lost Star, and Kryson overtook him. It's just there on that first part of the descent before he recovers it and heads down to start the next lap. Minjae hitting that lamppost is extremely unusual, both for him and for anybody hitting lampposts, as that's something we almost never see. Kryson's route through the fountain was good there, but up and over and not underneath. Just pushing so hard. Also pushing really hard, Drobot, who's in second on lap number 3, and this is where he gets caught out on the sculpture as well. His run up to it is okay, but he hits all parts of it that nobody else has hit yet. So let's take a look at that from a different angle. His approach through the fountain is the same as the other Xblades pilots. They like the first ring but not the second. Up and over, it's just a little bit too tight on the dive in, and then look how tight the gap is you have to make out. It's amazing that our pilots can do it at all. Amazing flying from all of the Xblades pilots. They get the big win, 4-0 over China Dragons. Star getting 2 wins, Minjae getting 1, and Yayu picking up the 4th. Elsewhere on race day 13 in Proptown, Mach 1 were also beaten 4-0 by SDT. Raiden beat the wildcard team 4-0. They needed that after they lost to Xblades last week. Quad Force 1 had a much closer battle than they expected with Cyclone Racing. Haven beat Alpha 4-0. The result for Quad Force 1 is particularly interesting, as those 3 losses against Cyclone means that Xblades are now 1 heat point ahead of them. They were tied a couple of times already this season. Now Xblades just fractionally ahead of them by the smallest of margins. Raiden in 3rd, SDT in 4th. China Dragons remain above Cyclone Racing, but it's so close between those. And Haven Airborne, they'll have to pull out some amazing wins in the rest of this season if they want to make it into the top 6 and go to our live Split 1 finals. Next, we'll see Cyclone against the wildcard team, Alpha Prop Racing try and get some points off of Raiden Racing, Mach 1 against Haven down the bottom of the leaderboard, Xblades against SDT could be the closest match between them than it has been for a few seasons, and join us next show for China Dragons against Quad Force 1. China Dragons trying to move up to 4th on our leaderboard, Quad Force 1 trying to get back on top. I'm Matt Andrews, we're the Drone Champions League. We'll see you next time, and always in the skies!